In this video, you're going to get an opportunity to see a live training session that I did with all my coaching clients featuring Zach Nelson with Compass in Denver, Colorado. And Zach has done an extraordinary job with his buyer process. So you're going to see his intro call into a buyer consultation with the resources that he sends, the questionnaire that he has, and how he's converting at a very, very high levels. Now, this was a live session. You're going to hear some insights and some feedback from me as well as from my coaching clients. So hopefully I'll be able to get some more of this type of content out there for you guys. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you jump onto my newsletter down in the description box so I can send more of these longer form training sessions out for you guys. Hope you enjoy the session with Zach Nelson.
When I make initial contact with the buyer, however that buyer came through, whether it was an agent referral, or maybe it's a client of mine who's coming back, or it's a referral from a client, or if it's an online lead, I let them know that I want to start things off with an initial introductory phone call. I just let them know it's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. I really make sure that they know that set them up for success and to prepare them for everything that's next, and that they understand this is how we do things. And I don't have pushback when I'm going through this process with buyers. With that initial call, I find out some basic information from them. A lot of times they'll want to get into—
Can you say the script again? I want to know the script. You explained it, but you skipped your script.
Well, it's usually in a text because that's how, like, a lot of times that they're connecting with me first.
Fair enough. Because there's two issues. There's 95% of the agent community doesn't think that an introductory call or a consultation, that the consumer will reject that idea and all they really want to do is go see a property with them, which is weird. I don't understand why you guys think that, but it's been the norm for so long. So I was just curious, what's the script to offer them to actually do something different?
All right, I'm sharing my screen. So this one, I have a call with this person here in a couple of hours.
Yes, thank you.
And if you want to see the script, this is typically how it goes. So this guy was introduced to me by a lender I work with. And so this is where I just talk about the next step with me on the real estate side of things is for us to connect on an introductory phone call. This first call will be for me to gather some basic information from you while also reviewing our process to buying a home. Our team is extremely well organized with a process for each step along the way. We strive to provide an exceptional experience with each of our clients through education, advocacy, research, and strong negotiation skills, all while having some fun along the way. Yes, the home buying process can be fun. One last thing, listen to my tone of voice. It really sounds fun, doesn't it? One last thing on this intro call, which will last about 15 to 20 minutes at most, we'll set up a home buying consultation. I'll explain more about that on the call.
Perfect. Yeah, very nicely done. I actually really liked also how you complimented the lender as well. This is really good stuff. Yeah. So do you experience any pushback on, because it's a two-step approach. You said it's a 15 to 20 minute little intro, and then it's a buyer consultation after you pre-frame them in advance. And then they're probably like, what's that? And then they come to the call with curiosity. That's called an open loop. So that's pretty good. So can you take us from there?
Yeah, of course. So on that call, on that intro call, the whole goal is to set up the buyer consultation. I will just gather some basic information from them. I want their whole contact information. And that's when they want to start telling me about everything that they want in a home. And I won't cut them off immediately. I'll let them talk for a moment or two. And then I'll say this, hey, this is great. In fact, you'll be able to provide me with a lot more of that information. And how that'll happen is I'll be sending you our home buying resources email. And so then I'm teeing that up next, as the next step before the home buying consultation. So I'm letting them know what's in the home buying resources email, which includes I'll pull it up for you guys in a couple minutes, but it has our home buyer guide.
Hey guys, pardon the interruption. If you don't have a business coach working with you like I am here with Zach and all my great coaching clients, everybody deserves to have a great business coach helping them with improving the details of their business. So please go down in the description box and book an appointment with Austin. I put his Calendly link right there, so you can just click that link and get an appointment with Austin. Please let him know that I sent you. I do get a little referral fee if you were to join the Tom Ferry coaching. I'd love to give you a high five and see you at the next event and support you on your journey as well. Enjoy the show.
It has our Denver relocation guide. It has the Google form, buyer questionnaire Google form, and then a couple of videos and some other information for them. So I'm just letting them know that I'm preparing them, that's coming. And then, I let them know that there's one piece of homework for them in there, and that's that buyer questionnaire, that Google form. It'll take them about 10 minutes to fill out. And that's where they can, this is where you can include all of your wants and needs, as well as some other pieces to the home buying process and what's important to you. So then after that, then sending them that home buying resources email, I'll do that usually within about 24 hours or so of the intro call, just because I want to keep them moving with and get them locked into, especially if it's somebody who I haven't met before. I want to make sure to keep that momentum going so that it happens pretty quickly after. When I send the email, I always send a follow-up text and let them know that I sent it. And I remind them again about that homework for them to complete. We've probably been doing the buyer questionnaire Google form for about 2 years, and we have 100% completion rate on it.
I'd love to see, the email.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the email we created within the Compass platform, but it could be done in MailChimp. And for those of you who use, why am I drawing a blank on it?
High Note.
High Note, thanks. This is like High Note in email format.
While he's doing that, one of the most important things I'm hearing is he's future pacing always the next step. And to me, when you're proud of the next step, people experience that. A lot of you guys, where the problem is you're not proud of your next step. And that's a problem. If you're not proud of the next step, how are they going to be excited about doing it with you? So it's really about building something that you're proud of, so that when you're talking to them, you're like, hey, I'm really excited. I want to take you through this process. It's awesome. Go do this next thing with me. Here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. Then they just follow the leader. So a lot of you, you're not proud of your next step. So you just skip it and just go straight to the showing, because that's where you shine. So that's the work. Enough. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this is where we just have a little intro paragraph of welcoming them to our team, and just understanding that, letting them know we understand what buying a home can be like or is, and that we're going to be prepared to help them in the best way possible. And then, so we have in here our buyer guide to start, and we have them set up as flip books. And this is something we had customized, so it's all designed for our team. So we're in the process of making some changes to this, but this is what we have right now. Some of about us here. This is, I'll get to it in a minute with the buyer consultation, but there's a couple of key pages that we go over with them. And this is one of them, helping each other be successful. We have what can you expect from us? And then here's how you can help us. So this is something, when I'm in the buyer consultation, I do go over this page. I don't go over every page in detail. In fact, and when it gets to the page of where it's about me, I make a joke out of it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't like talking about myself. If you want to read this later, you can. But this, because it's about them. I would go back to Donald Miller's story brand. We're the guide. They're the hero. And so it's about them. And that's what I want to focus on in the pages that I'm going through with them.
I do like how you're really making good promises to them. It's like, what's in it for them. So that's actually really good.
Yeah. And I always go through these.
That's cool.
It's important. And then there's an ask for how they can help us with online reviews and introducing us to their friends and family. Want to make that ask right up front. Okay. A map of where we worked. And then we talk about the timeline, because especially I work with a lot of inbound people from other states, and the process looks different, a little bit different from state to state typically. And even if somebody, especially if they're a first time home buyer, they have no idea what it looks like. So I really go through each of these steps. I want to make sure that I'm not making assumptions with buyers. Of course, if I know if they're a savvy buyer, like if I've worked with them many times before, then this is not going to be an important 2 pages, but I still at least try to hit on this.
Great titles, by the way, on each of those. Zac, I really liked all those titles.
Oh, thank you. You know why they're great? Because you helped me with these. So there you go.
I know, but we're just seeing it in action. I don't know. Would you guys agree that, again, I think my opinion, I think highly of my opinion, but I do hire a real estate advisor. That's a really good term. I love the hire the best, right? That's a good, I like that term a lot. Again, discover the community, property type. Would you guys agree that's a pretty good flow, or is there any improvements to that? Because a lot of you guys ask me about those things. And so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Cool. Next. Thanks, Zac. Keep going.
What you mentioned about real estate advisor, that's something that we've been putting on, that I have on a lot of our marketing material, is that we don't say real estate agent anymore. We say real estate advisor.
Nice.
Just because we are advising. We're not just an agent. At least that's how I view it. So then we talk a bit about positioning their offer to win and how negotiating and what that means. We want to make sure that they understand that one of our biggest value propositions is our negotiating skills. We have in here the congratulations, you're under contract, now what? One of the things that we haven't yet implemented in that part of the changes we're making is our value proposition based on all the recent NAR changes to articulate what it is that we do for the consumer. So that's something that we're working on that just hasn't been included in here. We also have in here a cost of buying, upfront and in transaction costs. So we call out some of those so that they have awareness around that. That's just some key terms, and then call to action of why hire us now.
Dope.
And then we have some testimonials, and then good karma, some things that different organizations that we contribute some of our commission dollars to.
Nice work, dude. I love the presentation.
Yeah. That's my mom's 67 Mustang. Yeah. Okay. There's that. Okay. And then we have I'll just hold this up before the questionnaire. So this is our relocation guide that we built. And this is less real estate focused and more lifestyle and what's going on around Denver focused. And this is where we had our marketing person. We worked on it, but she helped put it together. So we have a map. We've got a little bit about us, and then table of contents. So we got all the history of Denver, current demographics, climate, doing business in Denver, neighborhood maps, schools, school districts, all sorts of stuff in here. So this is just something, again, since we deal with a lot of inbound people that they may not have much knowledge of Denver, and we just want to be that resource for them. Even added like some things that we added our own kind of flavor to it, is some of our favorite restaurants in Denver. And so that's a way that I think was to customize it and personalize it a little bit more too.
Yeah, sick. That's great, dude.
All right. And then the buyer questionnaire, I'll probably have one, but we found Google Forms to be the best and the easiest. Once upon a time, we used like a Word doc, and we just said, type it in, and save it and send it back to us. And I'm glad we moved beyond that. But yeah, this is the PDF version of this. We have quite a few questions that we have on here. I think there's a lot, but it looks like a lot, but it really takes people about 10 minutes to complete. But then we ask some personal things towards the end that are like, what are some of their favorite things food wise? And then in terms of what kind of person they are, as far as what they like, favorite restaurants, what their career or job is, and if they work from home or at the office, commute to the office. And a big part of this, like what we'll use this for, is when closing comes or before closing comes, and we like to curate our closing gift experience for people. I'll take some of what's on here and use that, especially if they have a favorite restaurant, it's a gift card in part from that place, or some other things I like to do a lot of Colorado-based things for people, especially if they're moving from out of state. Okay. Go back here. So what we also include is we have mortgage resources. So we have a page for 3 different mortgage lenders who we work with and recommend. So we have that in there. And
I
then
do love the design of the email, you guys. There's a lot of white space. Do you guys notice that between the design? It's a very logical kind of an easy flow, a lot of white space. I think Heather, which is Zac's marketing person, I'm pretty sure she probably is part of that, but that's really good design, like good spacing, easy to read. So just please be aware of some of those just basics, right? Very nice.
Cool. And then we have a couple of our videos that we include just so that can introduce them to our YouTube channel. So we have pros and cons of living in Denver, and then how to buy a home in 10 steps.
Yeah, very nice.
And then we also include our buyer agency or right to buy contracts, just a blank one so that they have that. And then we also include the contract to buy and sell real estate.
I don't love that language right there, Zach. It's a little weird to me, right? Right to buy contract.
That's what it's called though. So.
I know, but then this is the document that outlines the buyer contractual agreement.
Or buyer representation is what I like to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, it still gets the job done, but it's still it's a little on the technical side. I know you work with a lot of smart people. A lot of us work with a lot of smart people, but just if you don't work with a bunch of, engineers and contract people, I would really try and simplify that language a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I really would want them to engage with that. I know I've said this before, Patrick O'Connor and Hannah, people sign the buyer brokerage agreement before they even book the buyer consultation appointment with them. It's pretty dope. Mm-hmm. So you've done such a good job up to this point. I would almost assume that a percentage of the people would actually just read it and sign it. When you guys do such a really good job, just allow the perfect customer to just take the next action step with you. If they want to ask questions and talk about it later, that's totally fine. That would be pretty cool if 25% of the time they read it and signed it before they even showed up to your consultation.
Yeah. Please, I like what you said about just buyer representation. I'm gonna change that.
Yeah, and I think right here too, I would say it's the Colorado, meaning I would call out that most people may or may not know that each state has a different contract. And so I might reference that Colorado's contract specifically with an apostrophe S. I don't know, it's just a minute detail.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, that's
right.
awesome.
So the other thing I would think is I always just call this is our agreement to work together. Make it basic.
Yeah. That makes sense, James. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Thanks. So then at the end, we mentioned it for them to check out our reviews on Google. And then we have a confirmation here about our...
By the way, this is me being micro picky. Your logo right there is a distraction. I actually thought that the email was over.
Okay.
Just so you know,
I'll go down here.
As I was following that logic, I thought that the email was over, and then you're like, oh, wait, no. And then now here's some more stuff. You really need to finish the design process off with this. You've been taking me through a beautiful design process, and I followed that pattern. And then when I got here to the end, my brain shut off because the pattern stopped. And I wouldn't do that. I would follow through with the pattern, because also with the Google reviews, I would want to have an image of the Google review, and I'd want to have an image of your Denver living thing. So then I would have an image of a calendar with your appointment, so that it's.
So then once we send this in, again, we follow up with the text to make sure they do. Then this is, so there's an email that I send then that has the agenda. Cool. This is where I'm following up. I'm just thanking this buyer for accepting the calendar invite for our call. And then I'm confirming again, you should have received our home buying resources email. You'll find some valuable resources, again, making sure they fill out the questionnaire. Nice. And then I'll include the agenda for our time together. So reviewing and discussing the answers on the buyer questionnaire, that's how I start the home buying consultation is to review that. Because they're looking at some of the key answers that they've provided to see if I can get some more information from them about why certain things are important to them, or for them to tell me more about the area of town that they want to be in, or the type of home that they want, or whatever that might be. So I've reviewed that buyer questionnaire at least a couple of times ahead of time, just to make sure I understand it all. And then we'll review some of the key pages from the home buyer guide that I went over with you guys just a few minutes ago. And then I'll say, based on our discussion and the answers in the questionnaire, we'll review the back end of the Compass search platform so I can set up your search collection. And then I've added in here, I'll also suggest some areas of the city or neighborhood that may be a good fit for you. And then, Patrick, we were talking yesterday on our call about kind of taking it to the next level is looking at what the type of home that they want or that they're after, and then doing some search ahead of time or doing the search ahead of time and pulling out a few properties like it could be active, pending, and sold to show them the homes that I think that they would like or that would be a good fit based on the criteria that they've given to me. And I like that a lot because it does show that it shows how proactive that we are and that we're a couple steps ahead of them. And it's something they probably wouldn't be expecting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Zach and I were talking about that yesterday and with Patrick O'Connor and Hannah, because they don't even want to work with the buyer because they take so many listings. So they really don't, they're like very detached. And I said, why don't you just, after you get the form filled out, which they do, just go into the MLS and see if you can find 3 properties between active, under contract, and sold. And the sold data is probably the most valuable. And see if you can actually confirm with them. Let me show you this neighborhood. Let me show you this property based upon the survey. Is this the type of property that you would be willing to make an offer on? Imagine that you actually identified a property that most likely we would make an offer on. If you could guys accomplish that prior to, that would just take this all to the next level.
Yeah, I like it. Oftentimes it'll be in this agenda of discussing the buyer agency or not buyer representation agreements for us to work together. Because we've been doing it here in Colorado, it's been required since 2004. So I've been doing it basically for my entire career. But there'd be sometimes in the distant past where there'd be assumptions. And so I never want there to be assumptions about that. I want to make sure that they understand it right up front about what that's going to look like. And then, so then I'm setting up and letting them know in that call and asking for the business, asking for their commitment to work with me. And then I say, okay, the next step is, and then we would set up another time for the buyer agency.
Why? I love it, by the way, 1,000 times better than 95% of every agent that I've ever talked to. But I don't see any reason why point number 5 is that it's review how to hire the Nelson team to represent you. Like, why isn't that just number 5?
Do any of you guys, when you do your buyer consultation, have your buyer agents or buyer representation agreement a part of your buyer consultation? So you do it like that, like he's suggesting?
Yeah, right then and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would know.
I always set it up for within a couple of days after. There's not a lot of time here, but I can see the value of just doing it so that you have it done then.
I at least asked the question right there. So now that we've gone through all of these items, how do you feel about us working together? And it's always been positive. I guess if somebody said, we want to think about it, I'd say, great. I would say, let's set a time for us to chat about that next week.
Yeah.
The one thing is, because I always want to set expectations about time. So I always let them know that our buyer consultation is going to take between 45 minutes and an hour to go through the items that we just talked about. Knowing that the buyer representation agreement, that takes 30 to 45 minutes to go through. I guess the question is,
why don't you include it in your previous flip book?
Yeah, you had it linked in the resources. You just tell them they need to look at it.
Yeah, I know. Because there's nothing filled out in there. It's just blank. So it doesn't have the terms and things like, or the time frame and the details about compensation.
You can just quickly.
I think you're making it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. And meaning that you've earned it. You've earned it.
Yeah.
You're adding an extra step that's not necessary. I'd say 90% of the time they would just agree pretty much cold right away. And 10% of the time they might want to have that additional in-depth conversation. So you've earned it. You need to put it there.
All right. Thank you. That's helpful to hear. Yeah.
If I have buyers who want to read more and didn't get a chance to read before, then I send it to them via DocuSign, and then usually it comes back in the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think it takes that long to go through it. Just a high overview. So like this page says this, blah, blah, blah. And if they're the kind of people who want to read it, like she said, they can. This is awesome, Zach.
Okay, good. So now hold on, everybody. Where do you, everybody, because Zach has he's worked very closely with his mom, with Heather, who is his marketing assistant, who's helped him
get all this implemented. So the question comes back to all of you guys. What piece of this puzzle do you need to add next? I like your input to Zac, but most of you don't even have 80% of this done. What do you need to do, guys? And then is there any questions that me and Zac can help you with right now, or resources or support to help you get that done? Obviously, we'll provide this video. You guys can, share this with your marketing assistants, and they can look at each one of those things and rewrite it and create a template for yourselves. But is there anything that you guys need from Zac or anything from me on this topic? It's okay if you don't.
I'd love to follow up on I know we were just beating Zac up about this, but with the buyer representation agreement, are you guys going to put the percentage that you're asking for the buyers to pay in that document, or will you wait and fill that in later?
Great question.
We've been advised not to pre-fill it out.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's a big debate. It's also a big debate on the listing side too. The truth is, all commissions are negotiable. And yes, I have a standard that I operate from as a business professional. Two things are happening at the same time. This is going to become an interesting dialogue. Does anyone have any additional?
If it's something that you always do and you make no exception, then you can have it pre-filled out, because if they're not willing to accept that, then you can walk away with it unsigned, right? But that's really the advice. If it's something that you might waver on, depending on who the buyer is, if it's a close friend or a member of a certain group that you're associated with, then they're advising not to pre-fill it out.
Yeah, I pre-fill it out, and then if you're going to make an adjustment, make a pending adjustment on the spot.
Yeah, in the conversation. There's tons of stuff there. Zac, thank you so much. That was totally awesome, dude.
Cool. Yeah. Happy to do it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the feedback too. Again, like when you're in your own head, or you're just working with your team and you think oh, it's perfect. We got everything perfect. It's never perfect, and there's always ways to improve it. So thank you too.
This is where I think it's so cool, is once you get so far down the road, all we're doing is just nitpicking micro details. That's so cool. The fact that's all the advice that we have is change your text this way to that way. That's dope. I need that for all of you guys. Okay, cool. All right, Zac, thanks so much, guys. See you guys. Have a great weekend. Catch up with you guys next week.
See y'all.
Bye.